ज़मीं पर
Welcome back. Fighting and beating cancer. Well, we have with us someone here who's done just that, Punita Vats, who had fourth stage breast cancer.
Yeah.
And now you were just telling me there's nothing left.
There's nothing left.
All right. So that story, and actually it was a more chilling story than that, and we'll come to some of the details in just a minute or two. But we're also being joined by Kiran Mazumdar Shaw, the Chairman and MD of Biocon Limited, and also by Arun Bharatram is joining us as well, Chairman SRF, and Mridu Gupta, CEO of CAPED, also with us. Thanks a lot to all of you for joining us. Punitaji, before I come to your story, Kiran Mazumdar Shaw, just wanted to get your sense though on what is happening in the world when you're looking at the technologies to fight cancer. And over the last couple of weeks, I've been hearing and reading about some of the new work that is being done, more targeted, because essentially at the end of the day, cancer is about genetic mutations, and there are lots of specific mutations that can take place. Increasingly, people are talking about targeted treatment, targeted medication, once the data for that becomes available, possible immunology, you can do something with the body's own immune system. Would you like to just share some of your thoughts on the technology in this first, before we go any further?
Well, it's becoming increasingly, accepted that cancer is an immunological disorder. So the research on cancer immunology has really thrown up some very, very exciting therapies, which are referred to as targeted therapies, which are really targeting certain immunological factors that have really brought about the cancerous phase of cell development. And therefore, by targeting these rogue factors, you can actually arrest cancer, and now you can cure cancer. There have been some wonderful discoveries made in recent times. PD-1 is one such target. And then, of course, in the past, you had many other targets, HER2, EGFR, and, many other targets have really helped to improve the outcome of cancer treatment. Now, in addition to that, of course, there are ways of combining immunotherapy and chemotherapy and radiotherapy, and I think the results speak for themselves, because as you've heard from many of the participants in today's program, the outcomes are just getting better and better, and many are being cured. And of course, when you talk about children's cancer and leukemia, you're also talking about bone marrow transplant, which is really a concept of using the body's stem cells to really correct what has gone wrong. And this, of course, is today known to have, known to cure these leukemias, especially in children's cancers. So I think we've come a long way. And when you talk about gene mutations, yes.
So sorry to interrupt you, just to take that point forward, sometimes we say, let's try and find the cure for cancer. Easier said than done, I guess, because there's no one such thing as one cancer. Cancer, in a sense, is sometimes people say 100, 200 different types of diseases, because it depends on where specifically and what part of the DNA has the mutation come in. Can there be one cure for cancer or a series of cures for cancer? And again, better database management is one of the things that many international experts are talking about. It then helps us find the specific targeted treatments. If we can coordinate all the databases on this, not just in India but around the world as well.
Yeah. Absolutely. I think cancer is a very heterogeneous disease, and different types of cancers have to be treated and dealt with differently. But as you very rightly said, it is about cancer management. It's about proper diagnosis. It is about early diagnosis, which is preferable, but many cancers are not really easy to diagnose that early on. So many cancers do get diagnosed at a slightly later stage. But even that now is showing hope of being managed and even cured. I think the biggest problem with cancer is really metastasis. Because as long as you contain the cancer, as long as you localize the cancer, and if you can deal with it in a localized way, then it's almost as good as a cure. But the moment rogue cancer cells escape the localization process, then I think that's where the metastasis start. But that's where I think the immune system can kick in and actually prevent metastasis. So that's the exciting research that's going on in cancer today, which is really about dealing with cancer metastasis.
Right, metastasis probably
and,
the single...
everything is about understanding the genetics of cancer, the immunology of cancer, both from a diagnostic and treatment point of view.
Kiran Mazumdar Shaw, we were just discussing, you were talking about metastasis just a short while back and why that really is the problem. And I was asking you the question that at the end of the day, the site of the primary tumor is not what kills a lot of people. It's when that cancer spreads through the lymph system to other sites. That's where the deaths actually occur. Is that roughly correct?
Yeah, that's, in a lay speak, I think that's what really kills people. But I think what I was also saying was that today, with the better understanding of cancer genetics, cancer immunology, I think there is a much advanced, access that we have to both diagnosis and treatment. And I think that's what is leading to much better outcomes in cancer. And like many people said on this program before, I think cancer is a disease now which is a manageable disease, a managed disease, and you will not die of cancer, but you will die maybe with cancer. But I'm sure many people would actually be able to overcome cancer. That is the hope that research is giving you today. And I think that's what we should really be looking forward to in terms of supporting, supporting research in cancer. Right. And of course, I think people need to understand what cancer is all about. And I think one of the biggest challenges which you've been talking about is the cost of cancer treatment. Yeah. So whilst all these wonderful advances are there, I think the biggest challenge we have is in making cancer affordable. And that's where I've really focused a lot of my philanthropy, saying how do we make cancer a disease that doesn't daunt you in terms of both the disease itself and the cost of treatment. So
in fact, on that note, Kiran, just wanted to show people some of the work that you've been doing in that, and then I think you wanted to make an announcement. But let's just first see some of the work that you've been doing in this area.
Chaya's is a case of a miracle turnaround. She's had angioblastoma, a tumor in her eye. Since her family had no financial means, they stalled her treatment for a long time, and then in desperation came to the Mazumdar-Shaw Cancer Center.
Doctor Rash ಬಂದ್ರು. ಅವರ ಹತ್ರ ತೋರಿಸಿದಾಗ ಯಾಕೆ ತೋರಿಸಿಲ್ಲ ಏನು ಅಂತ ಕೇಳಿದ್ರು. ನಾವು ಹೇಳಿದ್ವಿ ಇಲ್ಲ ಸರ್ ನಮಗೆ ದುಡ್ಡಿನ ಪ್ರಾಬ್ಲಮ್ ತುಂಬಾ ಐತೆ ನಾವು ಬಡವರು ಹಂಗಾಗಿ ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ಇದನ್ನ ಮಾಡಿದ್ವಿ ಅಂತ. ಆಮೇಲೆ ಡಾಕ್ಟರ್ ಕೇಳಿ ಸರಿ ನಾನು ಹೆಲ್ಪ್ ಮಾಡ್ತೀವಿ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿ ಹೆಲ್ಪ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ರು.
Chaya was taken in and treated. She didn't have to pay anything at all.
ಇದಾಗ ನಮಗೆ ಟ್ರೀಟ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಕೊಡ್ಸೋಕೆ ತುಂಬಾ ಕಷ್ಟ ಇತ್ತು. ಹಂಗಾಗಿ ನಮಗೆ ಹಾಸ್ಪಿಟಲ್ ಅವರೇ ತುಂಬಾ ಹೆಲ್ಪ್ ಸರ್. ಫೈನಾನ್ಸ್ ಇಂದೆಲ್ಲ ಅವ್ರದೇ ಸರ್ ಪೂರ್ತಿ.
Chaya is one of the hundreds of patients who arrive here every year and receive world-class treatment. They pay according to their ability and sometimes nothing at all. This ties in with the vision of the founder, who wanted to make cancer treatment affordable for the poor.
My own family have actually dealt with cancer in a difficult and challenging way. And one of my dearest friends is someone who fought cancer bravely, but I also saw the financial burden that she had to undertake. And that made me realize how expensive a disease cancer is. And it has to be made affordable. And with this in mind, I partnered with Devi Shetty in setting up this cancer center as one of the largest cancer hospitals in the country, so that we could bring in economies of scale with which to make it affordable.
The hospital pursues a lot of research and methodology to customize treatments for its patients.
Research is going to be the most important need to address many unmet medical needs. And if we don't invest in research, if we don't invest in innovation, we will just find that India will be left behind in terms of cancer care, in terms of treating cancer, and in terms of finding innovative and cost-effective and affordable solutions.
Her dream facility has given many poor Indians hope, like Chaya, who now sees the world with her new eyes. The vision, the purpose, the principle, all captured in moments of fulfillment like these.
Right, and Kiran, you had an announcement you said you wanted to make to us.
Yes, I have, certainly been very, very committed to cancer care, and one of the whole, purposes of this particular center is to make sure that we look after the poor and the needy who suffer from cancer. So I'm very pleased to announce a contribution of 2 crores towards the cancer, and I'm hoping that this will be used in a big way to, help cancer patients who are in need of this kind of treatment.
Right, Kiran Mazumdar Shaw, that's really generous, and that I'm sure it will go towards the treatment of a lot of children with cancer. Thank you so much for joining us and for making that commitment to us. We'll hear from you later in the day as well. Thanks, Kiran Mazumdar Shaw, so much for joining us. Thank you.
Thank you.
So that's a big amount being pledged there by Kiran Mazumdar Shaw, 2 crore rupees that will go towards the treatment of children with cancer. Welcome back. Well, we have with us Dr. Aditya from the Mazumdar-Shaw Cancer Translational Research Center, and also Dr. Sharat Damodar, Senior Consultant Hematologist there as well in Bangalore. Thank you both so much for being with us, as always. There are people who are still saying, look, we still don't get completely what cancer is. And one of the things that we want to do during the day is to keep on coming back to that question so that people understand what exactly cancer is. So let me start off by asking you now, from whatever we've been able to understand during the course of the day otherwise, cancer is basically a genetic mutation that takes place, and a cell which would stop dividing constantly continues to divide. And it's a series of genetic mutations that ends up causing that.
Right.
Why does that happen? And what are the reasons for it?
Well, part of it is just chance, we've got billions and trillions of cells dividing every day. And although the body does its best to keep them in check, sometimes one of those cells escape the mechanism. The other is the lifestyle you may lead, the kind of food you eat, the environment you live in. Those things are also constantly affecting how your cells evolve. So those are the 2 main things.
So again, to take that forward, and just to help people who don't understand this, you've got cells that are constantly replicating inside your body. And when there's the wrong mutation that takes place, then the cells start to keep on dividing. The lesser genes which are there don't act on it. That can happen either because of chance, as was just said. It could happen because of environmental reasons or hereditary reasons.
Genetic, yeah.
Genetic reasons, essentially. Or it could happen because of things like tobacco and alcohol and obesity and what are the other factors?
The other, environmental toxins which we get exposed to. You really don't know, for pesticides in your food, to the environmental air, to radiation exposure. There are innumerable things which can come up to, it's always, more than one hit which is required to keep this going. So you need 2-3 things to come together, and then this goes out of control. Normally the body also has a mechanism to knock off this cancerous cell because it's seen as abnormal. So there are immune mechanisms to actually control it. When that mechanism is overcome, then you have a truly cancerous proliferation occurring.
So the body's immunological response also has to go. So actually you need a series of events to take place before cancer should theoretically kick in. So it's almost baffling as to why so many cancers are happening. Is it just because we are surrounded by too many carcinogens?
Carcinogens, and just the number of cells, there are so many people and there are so many things happening that how much ever you try and keep this in check, there is always going to be this one cell which is going to go rogue.
One of the biggest carcinogens, which is cigarette smoke, should actually be on its way down because people aren't smoking as much as they once used to.
Right.
So theoretically that should start kicking in at some point. So what's the number? 20-25% is caused because of tobacco?
Yes, but now, in India at least we had the highest incidence being head and neck cancers, in addition to cervical cancers, and among children we've already discussed during the day about leukemia, where you really don't have any causative factor there. Just by controlling cigarette smoking per se still hasn't brought down enough of tobacco usage per se in India still.
So
and
there
are still other things. And we still don't know about environmental toxins which are now kind of part of our daily life. We don't even know. So Vikram, like you said earlier, one aspect is how come somebody is getting. The other way to look at it is how come with so much around, so many people are not getting it. You know, in spite of kicking in.
All right, well, you are going to be helping us as implementation partners. We just saw Kiran Mazumdar Shaw came on a little earlier in the day and she said 2 crore rupees is what she's pledging, and a lot of that will be utilized. Let's just take a look at someone like Chaya, who did come to you without hope and went back a completely new person.
The Mazumdar Shaw Cancer Center, MSCC, at the heart of Narayana Ridwalaya Health City in Bangalore. MSCC is an initiative promoted by Biocon founder Dr. Kiran Mazumdar Shaw. Its guiding principles are based on the philanthropic ideals of the founder of this health city, Dr. Devi Shetty, a renowned cardiac surgeon who was awarded the Padma Bhushan for his work in the field of creating affordable healthcare.
The Mazumdar-Shaw Cancer Center was really something that I was very, very committed to in terms of affordable cancer care. Cancer is not only a life-threatening disease, but it is psychologically debilitating and financially linked. And as someone who has, seen cancer at very close quarters, because very close friends and my own family have actually dealt with cancer in a very difficult and challenging way.
So MSCC delinks cancer healthcare from affluence. It provides world-class health services in cancer to the masses, cost that is affordable to all. This apart, MSCC is a world-class research hub and training college in oncology. It is also the first cancer hospital in the country to facilitate organ-specific treatment.
Our interest is that we should be able to do the genomic mapping, find out what is the chemotherapy that actually is appropriate to you, just to the cancer. And so if something is not appropriate, we do not give it or we stop it. The whole world is actually coming to India to receive holistic care. So from pastoral care to spiritual care to Indian integrated medicine, that is from yoga to anything that is. See, our intention in this whole process is this. We'll provide the best of science and match with all the other elements which actually align the person's body to improve for survival or improvement.
So one of the things that you've been talking about are personal care tumor boards. What exactly does that mean?
So we've seen, traditionally there are differences between Indian patients and Western population. So we can't just take Western protocols and just put it into our population because our genomics are different, the way we handle drugs is different, and we've seen that diseases behave differently in our subset of patients. So it makes sense to say that one is genetic variation from our, from our origin per se, plus individual variations. So some people handle drugs different from the other person. So it helps to pick up those subtle differences so that you take your best chemotherapeutic agent up front rather than try and use it, when he's relapsed, when you've kind of lost most of the, the fight which you could have.
One of the things that I've been picking up from some of the research on cancer internationally is almost to say that every tumor is different, that every cancer is different. You can't just say lung cancer, it's all the same. It might arise from a different specific genetic mutation. And then sometimes what you do when you're saying chemotherapy and radiation is you're firing a bazooka when a sniper rifle may be better.
Right.
Would you agree with that?
Absolutely. So that's why the next evolution of cancer treatment is going to be targeted therapeutics. You identify the exact mutation that is causing the cancer, and then you go with the specific molecules which just kill that and nothing else. And that is essentially what is personalized medicine.
You need great, and one of the other big concerns that is happening in the West is that you've got these various different cancer centers and their databases don't necessarily talk to each other, because for what you're saying to effectively work out, surely you will need a better database that people all across the world can access. That's when you will know that, okay, this is the genetic mutation that is taking place for this person in Bangalore. Now, somebody somewhere in Poland had a case, and we tried this therapy and it worked for that person. Right. For that, you need a database, don't you?
Yes. So that's the difficult part, actually. Individual centers start by themselves, but somewhere down the line, unless you collate data, it'll not really help anybody's cause, because each one has his small subset of data and he thinks that he's got everything there, which is truly not there. So this is something which I think we need to spread the word and encourage institutions to create. I think we are taking steps towards that direction for sure. That will certainly go a long way. And if you talk to most people, you know that our subset of patients do behave differently. So it makes sense to treat our patients different.
Well, thank you both so much for joining us, and let's certainly hope that some work starts on that global database. And just to say, that is something which the countries of the world have to collaborate on. This is one of the first things they should do, because if proper data sharing can take place, then the fight against cancer moves that much further, because as we were just saying, specialized, targeted interventions become possible. Medication which treats the specific tumor and the specific mutation in that particular person's cancer. And that, of course, will change the entire treatment of cancer. Well, thanks a lot for some of that. So we've spent the day really learning a lot about cancer, I have to say, and I feel that we are far more educated about it than we were. We'll get people's takes on that. But also, we have been trying to raise money and try and get other donations in kind as well. So, for example, 10 lakhs worth of Cipla cancer medication has been donated by the Yusuf and Farida Hamid Foundation. So that's great. And Kiran Mazumdar Shaw earlier in the day did come in and donate 2 crore rupees actually towards helping out a lot. So Kiran joining us again on that. So thanks a lot for that, Kiran. That 2 crore rupees, it's really one of the biggest requirements for people who can't afford treatment, and that will go a long way in helping a number of kids get treatment.
So I just think, cancer is, as someone said, it's a mind's game, and it is about overcoming the fear of this disease. And it is about making cancer care affordable, because I think the fear of getting cancer is both the disease itself and the cost of treatment that can be absolutely crippling. We know many families that have, almost bankrupted themselves, trying to pay for cancer. And it is my own personal experience with a very dear friend of mine who was battling cancer for many years that really got me to really focus my philanthropic efforts in cancer care and making cancer more affordable. And that is what really makes me want to do more and more for this particular segment.
Kiran Mazumdar Shaw, I must say,
your
Vikram,
wonderful venture.
I must congratulate you on the amount of work you're doing. It's just, and the philanthropic work you're doing for cancer is just phenomenal. And nobody knows about it. You don't talk about it, and more beautiful.
Right. Kiran, thank you so much for joining us. I just want to get we have to be almost out of time.
टूटा टूटा एक परिंदा ऐसे टूटा कि फिर जुड़ ना पाया लूटा लूटा किसने उसको ऐसे लूटा कि फिर उड़ ना पाया गिरता हुआ वो आसमां से आकर गिरा जमीन पर ख्वाबों में फिर भी बादल ही थे वो कहता रहा मगर के अल्लाह के बंदे हंस दे अल्लाह के बंदे
If you look inside your heart, you don't have to be afraid of what you are. And there's an answer. If you search in your soul, and the sorrow that you know will disappear. And then a hero comes along with the strength